Well, it's Halloween week. And depending on when you watch this video, have happy Halloween. Because we'll have this toward Halloween either Wednesday or Thursday, depending on our lineup. Also, be sure to check out All Taco Thursday. We will be having a Halloween special there as well. But this, we're going to read an opinion piece. And the thing about it is, in this business, when you're making movies, especially horror films, you have all different genres. And even the porn industry has their horror films. You may say to yourself, well, how can they have a horror film? What, are they all parodies and stuff like that? In the last decade or so, they've ramped up the classifications of horror, especially since the horror that you get from Hollywood has also ramped up. Now, back in my youth, you had stuff like Night Dreams, from the porn industry, which was a sort of horror on there. As far as porn, of course, you had the parodies, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, any of the zombie movies, and then many others. Today, you have situations where you have like Parasited, which happens to be one of the top producers out there, and horrorporn.com also, which has a lot of content when it comes to it. And you say to yourself, well, there's just sex and stuff like that. That's all it is. It's just giving you, stimulation. Well, so does horror films. And you have to also understand is that for many decades, even Hollywood itself, Hollywood horror films, were making films similar to what is in the porn industry today. Yeah, that's right. They made films. And some of them are available. You can see it on there. Some of them are classics. Some of them are obscure titles that you've probably not heard of, that you could probably get at the bargain bin of your store. But still, they're out there, and with streaming out there, you'll be able to catch it as well. And I'll tell you, the gross factor keeps increasing. I mean, let's hit Terrifier 3. And you had people walking out of Terrifier 3. Why? Because the first 10 minutes was just completely ape berserk. But also the last two films as well were also insane. I'm not going to give everything away from the third, but if you remember the second one, the girl was literally cut in pieces. And when Art the Clown walks out of the room, you figure that was the end of it, and she's crawling on the floor. He walks back in with salt and bleach and starts pouring it on her. I mean, come on, really? I mean, that's just totally insane. But believe it or not, the porn industry does the similar too. Yeah, they're grotesque. Yes, there's sex on there. I mean, but, it's supposed to titillate. It's supposed to excite you. People get excited at horror films. They get frightened. It stimulates the brain. No matter what you think of, pornography, it is an art and skill that when they make these movies. It's the same thing with a Hollywood horror film. A lot of these are art, they're artwork, they're artistic expression. Yeah, it's disgusting, but, still, it's not that you're just dropping blood on there. It's how you drop the blood, where you drop the blood. And sometimes you don't even use real blood. You may use like some wine or something else that looks on it, and use a filter on the camera or in the editing room to adjust for that. And remember, a lot of the tones are created not only by the lighting on the set, but also, when you edit it and adjust the tone. You have companies like DaVinci Resolve, which has some great color grading software built in there. And, you have two versions. You have the free version and you have the paid version, which is like $300. But still, for a free version, the color grading is fantastic. You could do a horror film on there easily. But we're going to read this opinion piece. And the person who wrote this, and I'm sorry, I don't know if this is a professional name or anything like that. SB Kivit, and he does have a website on there. If you go to XBiz, you can get this site, and it'll lead you to some things that he's written before. He or she, I'm not certain if it's a he or she. But the article is The Ins and Outs of Creating Horror Porn. It is the spooky season, which means it's the time of the year when I get to go all out on my very favorite genre, horror porn. While horror porn may seem incredibly niche, horror happens to be one of the most popular genres of the film in general, getting butts in the seats all year round, sometimes no matter how bad the actual movie looks. And remember, yeah, that's 100%. Look at the 80s and 90s. A lot of the straight to video horror films, they're classics today. Some of them, they get, praised highly. A perfect example is like we talked about in another one. The director of Godzilla Minus One wants to remake Godzilla versus Hedorah, which in a way it's almost a horror in certain ways. And back then it was criticized heavily. Today it's a classic. Let's read on. Why is horror so popular in the regular media but not in porn? Well, it's probably because it's not very easy to mix the two together. That's where I come in to help. I'm a lifelong horror lover, an avid horror movie watcher, and a published horror writer in my own right. Horror is one of the biggest passions in the world, and in the sex industry, marketing your passions is the closest thing that there is for a surefire approach. When you're like me and love horror, but you don't know how to integrate your content, or you're just interested in doing it for Halloween or a random Saturday, I'm here to help. Let's start with the basics. Horror porn is a genre of pornography that creates a very special fear boner.
Tell me, you didn't just say that.
Yeah, that's right. I said it. Fear boner. A common response as I get to my horror content is this supposed to scare me or turn me on? The answer, of course, is yes. However, a fine line must be walked. You don't want your content to be so lacking in an actual horror that it just comes off as cheesy, but you also don't want it to be so terrifying that it fails in its main purpose to turn the viewer on. There are multiple ways to achieve this, but my personal favorite is the power of a mask. I have all kinds of spine-chilling masks, from Silent Hill monsters to haunted dolls to Leatherface-esque skin masks. The reason these work so well for the horror porn is that they provide something that is uncanny and terrifying, which you can wear while being totally naked. It is the perfect balance. The viewer is scared by the fact that you are a monster, yet aroused by your body. This is what makes horror porn horror and not just simply a Halloween costume porn. Just remember, when it comes to Hollywood versus the adult industry, and we're talking the superhero type movies, whereas you have a couple of the studios that have done Marvel stuff or DC stuff, a lot of the costumes are better than the actual Hollywood movies themselves. We've seen this, time after time. Let's continue on. Okay, so how do you create a concept that is both scary and sexy? This is where I turn to classic horror movie concepts and flip them on their head to make them sexy. I usually start by rummaging through my favorite horror films and what makes them great. For example, one of my favorites is the Blair Witch Project. So I went out in the middle of the woods and found footage of the witch self-gratifying herself for the camera.
Oh, that's not right. No.
The witch is never actually shown in the original film, so I was able to get creative with a character concept and come up with a look for the witch. I even made stick figures from the movie and used them as props. It was the perfect blend of horror and hot and a terrifying found footage movie video of a witch. And then, oops, she's self-gratifying herself off to you and may or may not be after you at this very moment. Of course, you don't have to do takeoffs of specific movies. Maybe you just like a particular concept or horror subgenre. Last year, analog horror became huge and was all over YouTube. Analog horror is a genre characterized by dated aesthetics, often in the form of fake VHS recordings that tell the story through what looks like an old PSA or home video you might find at a estate sale. I made one about a virus that drives you to self-gratify yourself until you die. Though fortunately, I was cured in the video. Using the PSA format, I created something that was not only spooky with tons of special effects and weird art, but also a hot and self-gratifying worthy video. Think about what you like best in horror and you'll be able to turn it into a porn concept in no time. When making horror porn, you will also encounter a number of restrictions that you wouldn't apply if you were just shooting a regular horror movie. The biggest obstacle is fake blood. Because of the credit card company's restrictions, fake blood is generally not allowed in adult content. This can pose quite an obstacle when you're shooting horror porn. How do you get around this? I have several creative suggestions. Simply placing a red filter over the photo or video can get your point across without actually having to show blood. Another method is using the power of jump cut as something as scary is happening, like a monster coming at the camera, cut away to the next scene. This conveys the idea of something horrible happened without having to actually show anything graphic. Even vampire form, my personal favorite, can be treated without fake blood. Instead of using the techniques such as drinking red wine out of the dark glass or shooting a bite scene in a POV, since the viewer can't see their own neck, I even done a scene where I was a sex vampire who drained the victims of their life force via sex rather than drinking blood. That's a lot of them these days too. What seems to be a limitation can actually be a huge opportunity to get creative and make something unique with never before done ideas. Actually, there's a lot of it out there in the vampire range on there, and there's a lot of them are shorts, and some of them are really, really good and really, really sexy to this point on there. One of the old ones I remember was Muffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, Rip on Buffy, which was really extremely. If you haven't seen it, it's one of those adult films that it's a must see. It is a classic. It is out there. Actually, if you go to something like X Videos or Pornhub, you'll be able to find it. You just type in that title itself, and you'll be able to find it. Make sure you use your VPN. So let's read on. After everything is shot and edited and ready to go, you have one last hurdle: selling the niche interest. As I pointed out earlier, this is a very uncommon genre of porn. However, the horror genre itself is massive, and you can fully take advantage of that. I like to take plenty of photos during my shoots to help me draw the viewer in. Show them a picture that gives them the fear boner that makes them realize that something is about to turn them on, and then direct them to the content. Using keywords like the vein of paranormal activity or analog horror is another great way to reach viewers. Someone who isn't necessarily looking for porn might search long legs and stumble across your ad for long leg style porn. Take advantage of the world's love for horror and turn horror fans onto something they had no idea they wanted. I can get so many comments in the vein of "I didn't even know I was into this." Similar interest plus curiosity equals sales. Horror porn can be one of the most creative ways to express yourself as an adult creator, and it's my personal favorite to purchase as a customer. So keep a handy guide in mind, and let's keep that spooky porn going on this Halloween season. Now, what the article didn't really go into is that, like I said, there are many companies like Parasited. If you haven't seen the Parasited site for adult films, this one is based on basically, if you ever, in a way, it's sort of like, I I haven't seen Tentacle Monsters, but some of it's based on Tentacle Monsters, which you see in hentai, which there are tentacle horror films, live action horror films out there. And they do a freaking, whether it's the Japanese or the American version of the tentacle porn, live action tentacle porn, they do a massive, great job with the creature effects. I mean, they do a really, really good job. And there are some out there where the girl gets devoured by the monster, and then inside the monster, she gets gratified, if you know what I mean by that. But as far as Parasite, it is sort of based on, if you ever saw Slither, and the creatures in Slither where it gets inside people and stuff like that, the Parasite is similar to that. The only difference is they get a little sex crazed. You know, their eyes go white and all that, and they just start attacking anyone. And the goo factor is extreme. In simpler terms, these are like almost like, they're not snail creatures, but they sort of have a lot of goo around them. So it's like, it's almost like putting a lot of lotion on, a lot of baby oil lotion. You know, no, not the same as like Diddy. But it is, I mean, from the trailers you see, because they got a lot of trailers online, they don't have a lot of full length. It's mostly with Parasite, you have to pay for it onto their website, but they do have a couple of long length ones to at least show you what their offers are and stuff like Pornhub. Of course, you know, you got stuff like, you know, when you go to horrorporn.com, you know, you have like stuff that's out of American Horror Story, demon stuff from Silent Hill type situation, Roswell, you know, Horror Hospital, Predator. Oh God, there's Predator and Alien ones, which, you know, some of them are animated, and it's just, you know, and they even have Evil Dead and Pinhead as well. So I mean, this is not uncommon that you see this stuff. Now you may say, you sit back and say, man, come on. Hollywood really do something similar like this? They really, you haven't seen horror then. Since the 1970s, please believe me, since the 1970s, Hollywood has been doing films that are borderline, I mean, almost borderline, could be considered pornography in certain ways by the subject matter of the movies. I mean, you can go back to in the 1980s, you had a Corman type film called Humanoids from the Deep. If you haven't seen Humanoids from the Deep, it's a great classic on there. It stars Don McClure, Ann Turkel, Vic Morrow. The late Vic Morrow. You know what happened with him. It's distributed by New World Pictures. You could watch it out there. I think it's still on Tubi. Actually, yeah, it's on Tubi. It's on Zumo Play, Sling, Amazon Prime Video also. If you haven't catch the niche on this movie, it's basically a small fishing village in California. There is some sort of monster that are attacking people. They're murdering, and the women are disappearing. And the basis on there is that the women are being, as they say, used to be impregnated to make more of these creatures. And some of it you do see. I mean, there's a lot of ripping of clothes. You know, there's a lot of nudity in this film. Yes, you know, it's on there. It is a good film. If you're overseas, it's listed as the movie Monster also from 1980. And you say, oh, come on. You know, really, you know, you had a guy direct this and put this. Actually, the person who directed this movie is a woman, Barbara Peters, who happens to be part of the Roger Corman School of Film. And she went on to direct episodes of Remington Steele. Goes to show, you know, there are a lot of people out there who has done some classic stuff and gone on to do bigger and better things, but they had a starting point at one point in their career. I mean, originally this was supposed to be like a bit of a Creature from the Black Lagoon, but then, you know, a lot of things were changed to that situation, and that's what we got to this film today. It is a classic. The creature effects are fantastic. There is a good amount of blood in this film, uh, and it has a decent ending to it. But like I said, this is a film that, yeah, there are monsters and sex in it. Yeah, that is right. And you say to yourself, well, that's only one. You can't, but there have been many. And you can go forward in time to another film. Let's, go into the 90s. There's a movie called Evil Toons, if you haven't seen that one. That came out in 1992, which is also available on Tubi TV. And believe it or not, and who stars in this movie? David Carradine, Dick Miller, and the porn star Madison Stone, and Barbara Dare. Now, the premise of this is sort of like Necronomicon, Book of the Dead, gets written out, and basically the main demon is sort of a cartoonish. And he does come out, and the thing about this is that this creature goes running around. There's a scene with Madison Stone, which she happens to be one of my favorite porn stars out there. Hot, sexy. If you have not seen her movies yet, one of my favorites with her is Genie in a Bikini from 1992. Very hard to get. Very hard to get. I have it on VHS, mind you. It's in my files. Yes, I do have adult films in my library. In fact, it goes back to the days when I worked in the industry. But yeah, there is a scene with her, and yeah, she gets ravished by a cartoon character. Yes, that's right. Yeah, and this is a movie with David Carradine in it. Okay, I mean, the plot is just off. It's just insane. But it's sort of like almost. It's almost like Night of the Demons, which there are sex scenes in that as well. So when you look to the adult industry and you say like they're doing horror porn, yeah, but Hollywood has been doing it a little bit longer, and they've come out with some good ones, and there's some crazy, insane ones as well. I mean, there's one when I was in the duplication end and editing end in a dub house where we did adult films, we did regular kung fu movies, regular horror films. Some of the ones we worked with HBO itself. I mean, that's how I got to see the Return of the Living Dead, and I saw a couple of other good films with Rutger Hauer and FX. I saw FX with Brian Dennehy for the first time, when I was in the industry. But there's a movie about 98. And this was the tail end of me being in the duplication end. I was working for Edit House and Dub House in Florida. And you can find this under various titles. In fact, I have the current version on VHS, the current edit version. It's called Alien Files, or you can find it under Sex Files, Alien Erotica. It's had about a dozen names. This one was written and directed, by Rolf Kavinsky. If you're not familiar with that name, he did a lot of the Emanuela movies, including the Emanuela in Space. He's responsible for a lot of those. This is sort of something you would see on Parasite also. This is about a crew on a ship. They're back to Earth. They got something, one of the samples has gotten out, and it causes sort of nymphomania. That's the word I want to look for, nymphomania. But the creature moves from body to body through secretions, if you know what I mean. And there's sort of an X-Files type situation. The team sent in to do this. But the thing about it is, anyone that's been infected already, sort of, how can I put it? There's a base element that's left behind that literally whatever the creature is going through sexually is felt by people that have been infected by this creature before. So there's a lot of times where, especially the female cast going through very enticing moments for themselves, including one of the government agents. It happens to be, this is part of a series. Actually, you could have seen it on Cinemax films that basically were of the similar nature on there. I think they made like 3 or 4 of them, if I'm not mistaken, on this. I mean, it has a rating of 5.4 out of 10. Like I said, the script is not the greatest in the world. Some of the goo effects on that happens to be pretty decent for a low budget film itself. There are a lot of nobodies in this movie itself, but mostly people that do films on itself. Well, I mean, 1 or 2 have been on Married with Children, secondary characters. But like I said, this is what happens in Hollywood. It is not uncommon that you get horror porn in Hollywood. Remember, they're the three things that you need to survive from a horror film. Remember those.
Number 1, you can never have sex. Big no-no! Big no!
I'm a dead man.
Sex equals death, okay? Number 2, you can never drink or do drugs. No, the sin factor. It's a sin. It's an extension of number 1. And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. The sex part is the important, and you've seen it in many films, especially like Friday the 13th series, Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not uncommon for the adult industry to expand and cultivate with this. And, like I said, some of it is disgusting. It borders line on dominatrix, S&M, to that situation, depending on the title. I mean, you have everything, like I said. Even in 3D animation, they have versions of it. They do it with the video games version. They do it with the Resident Evil as well. There are those who create copies of Resident Evil characters. Yes, including her. The big lady, if you know what I mean. Basically, they've done stuff with her. They've done stuff with a lot of the other characters, and some of them using the monsters as well. This is not uncommon. You may say that it's disgusting, but, there are people out there who do like this. And they like it also from the horror point of view. Always remember that. Even hentai. I mean, one of the popular hentais out there as far as in the horror genre is Bible Black. That happens to be one of the top one these days. Where you're dealing with, with the devil and all the creatures and stuff like that. And like I said, if you haven't seen Bible Black, it's a whole series. If you haven't seen it on that, but it is a top hentai horror that's out there. So let me know in the comments below your thoughts about this. Like I said, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. Hollywood has been doing it for a long time now. When the Hays Code was eliminated, it opened up the floodgates to this. It's allowed, and it's making money. I see a production short practically at least 2-3 times a month from certain vendors. It's not uncommon. You hit XBiz or Adult Video News, they're always promoting another one that's out. Some of them are really, they're produced really, really good. Hollywood could take that and make it into, and remove a lot of the heavy sex, reduce it down, and it's a regular horror film. They did it with Pirates. Why was Pirates, the porn movie, the most successful porn movie of all time? Because the production value was high. And the thing about it is that the company that produced it made R-rated versions and NC-17 versions of it, so it was able to run on cable TV. It was well done. So there is a lot of porn out there that is good, especially horror porn. There's some that it's just for the sex of it, and some of it for titillation of those who love horror and sex. So let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share this video, And hopefully today's the day I've earned your subscription. We've taken a strong subject today, but I think we did a good job with it. So let me know. So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and so long, and happy Halloween.
Thanks for watching, commenting, and sharing this video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe, as this helps the reach of this channel. Finally, as a content viewer, you have the ability to help support this channel, as new internet laws around the world will diminish our reach and affect our sponsors. If you choose to help, there are 2 ways, listed in the description below. The first link will lead you to a pay site where you can make a monetary donation. The second will lead you to our gear shop, where you can buy shirts, mugs, and other gear. Discounts will be listed on the site. Once again, thank you for watching and your support.
Fuck all what you think, bitch. Make sure let me paint this.